Republican Senator Thom Tillis from North Carolina joins me now. Senator, always good to see you. How do you evaluate where the nation is and where the nation finds itself in the war with Iran?
I think it's hard to tell right now. We're coming up next week on the 60-day mark since the hostilities began, and the White House owes that to Congress so that we can have a discussion about continuing the effort under an AUMF or maybe under a 30-day extension if they request that under the War Powers Resolution. But it's reaching a point now where over the early part of the conflict, I said as long as the chairman and the members and the juries of, or the committees of jurisdiction were being briefed, that was good enough for me. Now the full membership has to be briefed, and we have to be able to sell the American people on sustaining this until we get a good outcome.
Will you vote to invoke war powers at the 60-day if you're not satisfied?
Well, what we're looking at right now is discussion around an AUMF that would legitimize this. Authorization for the use of military force. So to legitimize this effort and send the message to Iran that Congress is behind it. But in order for us to gain support for that, we have to have specifics, the specific strategic objectives that they want to achieve and over what time period they think it's going to be required to accomplish it.
Senator, I'd like to get your reaction to something the Defense Intelligence Agency has sent to Congress. It assesses that Iran, and I quote here, retains thousands of missiles and one-way attack drones that can threaten U.S. and partner forces throughout the region, despite degradations to its capabilities, both from attrition and expenditure. Does that sound like we've won then?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe we used words that we shouldn't have. You know, in the first incursion last year, we talked about obliterating their nuclear capabilities. Clearly not the case, or we wouldn't be there now. I think that we need to get down to the level. Some of this may have to be communicated in a classified setting, but the reality of the situation on the ground. It should come as no surprise that Iran has developed asymmetrical warfare tactics. They've learned a lot. They're aiding and abetting in the murder of Ukrainians on the battlefield. Russians are using the technology. In turn, Russians are sharing intelligence and clearly coaching the Iranians on how to use that asymmetrical capability. So no, the inventory, they have a massive drone manufacturing capability now. It's not surprising that they would have other missile stocks that they can use in an offensive operation. I think many of their defensive platforms have been defeated, so it is challenging to get those missiles in the air, but they can certainly do it. This is a sophisticated, the IRGC is a very sophisticated, I believe, terrorist organization, but they've got tactics and strategies that we need to be prepared for.
Are you comfortable with an administration negotiating with so-called softer liners in the theocracy, even if the hardline IRGC remains?
No, I think we need to be absolutely certain that the people we're negotiating with are the ones who can sign on the dotted line and be held accountable. And I'm not sure if that's the case right now. The IRGC reports to the mullahs, but they also have an independent streak in them that we've seen from time to time. I think that we need to be absolutely certain that we're negotiating with people who can actually deliver on the commitment. I also feel like anything that we negotiate needs to be ratified by Congress, or frankly, it's not much better than the JCPOA that President Trump withdrew from after Obama signed it.
Let me ask you about another topic that's very important to you, Senator Tillis, and the future of the Federal Reserve. Kevin Warsh is the nominee. It came before the committee. You have an idea to take the pending Department of Justice investigation into whatever happened at renovations at the Federal Reserve, put it in the hands of Congress. A, is the White House supportive of that idea? B, is that the only way Kevin Warsh gets confirmed? Because you're standing in the way.
Well, the only way, I mean, I'm happy to be on a committee and to go through with a fine-tooth comb the building project that somebody in Washington, some assistant U.S. attorney in Washington thought they should bring a criminal investigation forward. They've lost in the courts. The subpoenas were quashed. The motion to reconsider that judgment was also defeated. And now they have an appeal that I think they have in early May that they can actually put forth. But look, this is standing in the way of what the president wants to accomplish. If this investigation, which in my estimation is weak at very best, is standing in the way of a timely, on-time confirmation of Kevin Warsh, who I'm prepared to vote for after this investigation is disposed of. But the independence of the Fed is a red line for me. And I'm standing in the way of having the financial markets, world financial markets, look at the U.S. in a very different way. We have the gold standard for financial systems. We've had that since we established the Fed. I don't want to lose it. And the last thing I want to do, even though I agree with the president and some of his interest in seeing interest rates reduced, I don't agree with the way that he's going about doing it. And even when Kevin gets confirmed, he's going to have to gain consensus among the 12 voting members to get this done anyway. So let's stop an investigation that's going to lead to nowhere. If we need to examine it and find actual criminal activity, I would do a referral if we found that. But just setting expectations, I think that that's virtually impossible based on my examination, thorough examination of the building project. And we have 7 members of the committee, including the chair, who have said nothing criminal occurred. This whole investigation is about 2 minutes of documented testimony that the witnesses at the alleged scene of the crime said no crime occurred. It's almost bordering on absurd.
So you're familiar, Senator Tillis, with pressure points and political probabilities. This is a pressure point. You have created the pressure. What is the probability it gets resolved in the way you've just described? Because the president has to agree to this to call off the dogs at the DOJ.
Well, at the end of the day, the only thing that I know for certain is that I have a little over 260 days left in the U.S. Senate. And if that investigation is still going on in the 260th day, then I'm pretty certain Kevin Warsh has not been confirmed. I can't be, I'm trying to be unambiguous here. We have an opportunity to appoint a new chair on time, to create an environment where I believe Chair Powell will move off of the board and vacate the remainder of his term that otherwise expires in 2028. Why don't we take the win and tell the prosecutors in D.C. to do their homework before they launch a criminal investigation without a referral from Congress about testimony that came before Congress?
Very quickly, I've got 1 minute left. On the longest-running partial government shutdown in our history, how does this get solved with DHS so the good people who work for that agency can get paid and receive back pay on a timely basis?
Well, there's a vehicle in the House that if the House would pick it up, we would resolve
they don't want
it,
to,
and I
though.
hope that they do. Well, what Republicans need to understand in the House is we are going to own full responsibility for this shutdown after 100 senators in the Senate voted for this measure. We all have our disagreements. I like those disagreements to be aired in conference meetings, not in public. And the best way to resolve this conflict and no longer have responsibility for the shutdown, since Republicans chose not to vote on the measure, is to get it passed or send us something that we can pass. But this is unacceptable. It is holding up FEMA grants and public assistance, a number of other things that are frozen while we've made other areas of the department work. It's critically important to get it done, and our disaster assistance accounts are also beginning to run low. So let's just get it done. Understand it's not perfect, but don't let it be the enemy of the good.
North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.